That's what has me more.
That's worried you more than just her. Okay.
The police released her just after midnight.
There was nothing right. They had my trees victimized from the moment they knew that she was not in the right state of mind she needed to be in. When she needed help, she should have went to a hospital.
My Trees disappeared into the darkness and was never seen alive again. I'm Katherine Townsend, a private investigator, investigative journalist, and host of the podcast Hell and Gone. In the third season of Hell and Gone, we're going to try to find out what really happened to Mitrice Richardson. Listen and follow this podcast for free on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one app.
The Jimmy Barrett Show continues on KPRC 950.
All right, we are back here on AM 950 KPRC. Time to test the waters of the real estate market here. We talked to our next guest a couple of months ago, I think. Of course, a couple of months ago, the market was still hot and homes were still flying off the shelves and people were still getting multiple offers and we still had a supply shortage. Some of that, I think, has changed a little bit, but Texas, for the most part, seems to be a fairly healthy real estate market still. At least that's the impression I get. Well, let's find out from Cliff Freeman, real estate expert. You'll find him at cliffordfreeman.com, by the way, if you want to check out his company. Cliff, welcome back to AM 950 KPRC. Compared to where we are now with the real estate market to where we were the last time we talked.
Well, it's moving. Things are moving a little slower. Inventory is up. Interest rates have sort of peaked, at least for now. But what we've seen is there's been this kind of rush by sellers to get ahead of the curve. Seasonally, July 4th tends to be about where that transition from the spring and summer selling season goes into sort of the fall-winter season. And, we're seeing that inventory is still up this week after the 4th of July. But, I think possibly we're going to see things start to level off here and return to some sense of normality. I don't think we're going to have much of a chance for those big price increases that we got used to over the past couple of years.
Well, if you're a buyer, that's good news, right? Because if you're going to be waiting here a few months before you even consider buying a home, then it's good to know that I think for a while there, people were afraid, weren't they, to wait to buy a home for fear that they would just get priced out of it.
Well, that's exactly right. And, are we closer to a top rather than a bottom here as far as affordability goes? I think we could all argue that it's close to a top. But, some people buy for certain reasons. For example, investors may be buying to speculate and flip a home. That market is probably gone for a little while, at least those quick, returns where you could get 2-3% a month. I think what we're going to see now is really careful decisions made by people who actually are buying a home to live in and could potentially be in there for a long time. Jimmy,
you mentioned Cliff, the investment firms, and for a while there we had investment companies who were coming in, buying homes in residential areas, and then renting these homes out because the rental market has been so strong and rents have been so high. And of course, the higher the prices get, the more down payment money people need. And we had families that wanted to have a home to live in, but they could no longer afford the down payment or the monthly payment, and were kind of pushed into the rental market. Is that still happening?
We've seen a slowdown in the institutional purchases. That is, homes that are being purchased by, other than people to live in them. So I would, what I'm seeing is that that is slowing. There's an equilibrium where the cost to purchase a rental property and the rent, that the numbers just don't make sense. And the affordability of homes and the prices have gone up to a point now where rental rates have caught up, but at the same time it's like can you still make money on rentals? And it's getting harder and harder. That arbitrage that some of the fast money was coming in trying to make is no longer there because we don't see the appreciation in home prices.
You're up around the Dallas area. Of course, I'm down here in Houston. Tell me about the two different markets. Are they operating at about the same level right now? What's the difference between what's going on in Dallas and what's going on here in Houston?
Yeah, I think, Texas in general, we're kind of all in sort of the same bucket. I mean, we've got people coming in from other states, seeking, better business climates, better affordability and so forth. And Houston's been a bit of the beneficiary along with the DFW market. Specifically here in Dallas, we have had, a really big population growth. I mean, we gained, I think we're now up from sixth place to fourth largest metro area in the country. And we just keep growing. And, the job market up here has been good. Of course, oil, while it doesn't have the impact that it did when I was living in Houston back in the 80s, it's always great to see oil up and, people in the industry back working again. So I think that we're seeing very similar markets here. And then, Jimmy, of course, mortgages, that's kind of a national thing. And interest rates probably have had the single biggest impact on the affordability equation in the last 6 months. So, as you may recall, for every point that rates go up at this level, that's going to pull back a buyer's buying power by about 10%. So if you just do the math, since the end of last year, rates are up from, the low threes to now the low fives. So we've actually lost about 20% of our buying power for those buyers who are making a smaller down payment and borrowing a little more money.
What are you seeing, Cliff, as it relates to new home construction? What's going on in the construction industry right now? Are they still building great guns, or are they backing off, maybe worried about a recession coming up?
Well, I think that's the big question is, where is the Fed going to lead us here? We've seen more what I call bust outs or broken contracts, particularly in Texas. We've led the nation in contracts that have fallen out with builders. And the reason that I believe the underlying reason is because, builders sort of lead the pricing when it comes to, the market, and raw materials have gone up so much. I mean, we're looking at, for builders, a raw material cost up about 42% from 2018 through 2021. And that's kind of old data. So, we know that it's costing a lot more to build a house. Unfortunately, buyers who signed contracts, 6-8 months ago, and, maybe even longer, now their house is nearing completion, rates have gone up. And, if you weren't able to get a rate locked, when you signed the contract, chances are you may not be able to afford that house now. And compounding that is, you've read these horror stories about some builders who were tearing up contracts to go resell a home for a higher price to another buyer. In other words, not honoring that original commitment, which was in the contract. So there are a number of reasons why home builders are slowing down. Yes, the Fed is pumping the brakes on the economy as well. But we've seen building permits down up in our neck of the woods, Jimmy, and I'm sure that, the builder sentiment in your area is the same as well.
Yeah, that's true. How many homes are being built by builders have a lot to do with it. It's like consumer confidence, right? Only for builders. How confident do I feel that when this home is completed 6 to 8 months from now, there'll be somebody willing and able to buy this home?
Exactly. And even though we've seen a lot of inventory on the market, millennials are the ones who the builders are not building to those people. And we've seen them, really shut out of the market because of affordability. I mean, we've got about half as many millennials in the market looking for houses now as we did just a year ago, just from the affordability standpoint. They simply, houses just outrun their ability to keep up with payments.
Okay. It's going to be interesting second half of the year. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the update.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate you, sir. Take care.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Don't take care. Cliff Freeman joining us. Right. Real estate expert. You can find him at cliffordfreeman.com. Back with more in a moment. Jimmy Barrett Show here on AM 950 KPRC.